Sword Art Online Re-Hollow Fragment is the remaster of the remake of Sword Art Online Infinity Moment on the PSP, developed by Arcuria in 2015. I'm reviewing the PC version, released in 2018. Sword Art is how I started making game reviews on YouTube. No matter how ass the games may be, it has a soft spot in my balls. I briefly talked about Hollow Fragment in my Lost Song review. I said it wasn't my thing, so I skipped it. Now I'm back to take care of business. I can't just review all the other ones and not do the first. So here it is. I gotta do Last Recollection soon too. Also, Dimps is coming out with another SAO game, and it's not Fatal Bullet 2, you motherfucker. The graphics are okay. Gotta keep in mind that this was a PSP game at first, so don't expect too much. Kinda reminds me of God Eater. I guess this is how PSP anime games look back in the day. The 2D pics are pixelated as hell. This is also an issue seen in the other Arcuria games. I don't get it. What happened here? The ones seen during combat are fine, but not the visual novel sections? Why is this so inconsistent? Like, is it the game engine? Do the devs not know how to output higher res PNGs? I can't nut to this. Did they lose the source files for the images? The game itself runs fine though, aside from some frame drops in crowded areas, so not bad, 7 out of 10. Seriously, did Arcuria themselves port this version? It's way better than Hollow Realization. There's no holding the right mouse button to move the camera, or having the cursor on screen all the time and having it affect the maps and all that bullshit. If they could remaster Hollow Realization and actually make the mouse and keyboard controls good, then maybe I would play more. The character creator is not the best I've seen, but it's not bad either. It's an okay selection of face types and cosmetics, though there is a severe lack of glasses. Got lucky with the only pair of glasses being colored red though, but damn man, have a color slider. So this is an action RPG, but it doesn't really feel like one. Like Arcuria's later SAO games, you're just spamming and chaining skills. There's no need to dodge or react to enemies most of the time because they barely do any damage. You don't even have to use stamina to do skills either, you just gotta wait for them to cool down. You have a decent amount of skill slots too, so you can just add all the sword skills you have and just keep spamming them. As soon as you're done going through them all, you can start the cycle of spamming all over again. There are tons of buffs you can use, but I made it through the whole game fine without them. There are a lot of potions to buff your stats too, but yeah, those are useless. You have a burst bar to do certain actions. At first I thought this was the stamina bar, seeing that it depletes with the use of skills, dodging, and attacking. But then I found out you don't need burst to use skills or attacks. And then I found that the normal attack that I was using wasn't even a normal attack, but a burst attack. The normal attack doesn't even need you to press any buttons, it's automatic. So the burst attack is just a faster normal attack? Normal and burst attacks don't do any damage that worth a fuck, so I end up spamming skills anyway. Why are there two separate attacks? It's like they thought having auto attacks don't feel engaging enough, so they added the burst attack that requires you to press a button to feel more like an action game. And you know what? That's exactly what they did. In the original version of the game, Infinity Moment, you only have the regular auto attack, and it looks slow and shitty, and I don't like it. Hollow Fragment is an RPG with MMO style combat that's been reconfigured to play like an action RPG, but it ended up feeling stiff. Dodging still doesn't matter, you're still just standing there spamming skills like none of the changes matter. It does feel a little actiony, but they needed a lot more than just a little. There's a risk system where if you have a high risk level, your burst bar will recharge slower. To counter that, you need to switch with your partner, which is a decent take on the mechanic. But like I said before, you can spam attacks all you want, so who gives a shit. It helped during boss fights the most, but in general, you don't have to worry about it. You can upgrade your weapons at Lisbeth's blacksmith shop using materials you find while exploring. You can choose which stat you want to upgrade your weapon with, since each weapon has certain stats that it scales with. Liz is probably the worst blacksmith in gaming. Every upgrade to your weapon has a chance of failing. Let's say you want to upgrade your sword down the dex path. You have an 80% chance of succeeding, and every attack after that, the percentage gets lower. You're supposed to progress Lisbeth's quest to get her the best hammer in the fucking game to do her work with. She could only get one of my swords past +5. The RNG is horrible. I remember getting 3 fails in a row with 60% success rate. This shit ain't supposed to happen. I have a better chance of surviving a second circumcision. This depleted all the upgrade materials I had to the point where I gave up on engaging with the system and just equipped whatever sword has the highest damage, ignoring the scaling. And you know what? I beat the game fine without upgrading after that point, and that's the problem. You're supposed to engage with these systems and add to the character progression, but it's useless. Lisbeth's I fucked up face is forever burned into my mind and will be haunting me in my nightmares for the rest of time. Hollow Fragment is split into 2 parts, clearing floors in Aincrad and the Hollow area. Aincrad is straightforward. The game continues after defeating Heathcliff, the main bad dude from the original story, and splits off into its own game continuity where you have to clear the remaining 25 floors. To beat a floor, you have to obviously finish going through it and also complete a certain quest given by the quest board guy. Also kill a certain high level enemy on the floor and finally beat the raid boss at the end. I got bored 10 floors in. All the floors feel the same except with a reskin. Hell, some floors even recycle previous tile sets, so after 25 floors, everything just blends in with each other in my mind. At least the floor pictures are more unique. Man, why can't we go to those places instead? The level layouts are very basic and repetitive. Most of the maps are hallways connected to hallways, and sometimes the hallways lead to dead ends, so you wonder why they're even there in the first place. The only incentive for exploration is finding chests, hoping they have upgrade materials or cool weapons in them. But Lisbeth rules that shit anyway. The raids are the most exciting part. It has the spectacle of a raid with multiple players coming together trying to beat a boss with flashy effects everywhere. It's still just spamming skills like normal enemy encounters, but at least there are more pretty colors to numb my brain with. Oh, and the bosses get reskins too. Overall, Aincrad is boring. There's a reason why they didn't show all 100 floors in the original story. You need time and effort to flesh things out, and the devs certainly didn't have enough of either. Even 25 floors was too much. I would like to see how it could have been if the devs cut the game size in half or 1/3 of what it is now. Have unique looking floors and map layouts that aren't hallways. Could have been interesting and memorable. This section is also pretty easy except for those rare enemies in the field that you have no chance of beating. The lack of challenge and repetitive environments made this a pee-pee-poo-poo experience. The Hollow area is a bit more exciting. It's one big map intended for the developers of SAO to test new mechanics in, but now for some reason players are getting teleported there and are able to explore. You can bring your party members from Aincrad there, or you can partner up with Philia, the new character made specifically for the Hollow area. There's a new mechanic called implementations, where you can do combat challenges to unlock new passives, skills, and high-level equipment. It's pretty fun since you have more than just leveling up to look forward to. Some problems I have with implementations is that you can only do those challenges in hollow missions that appear in specific spots of the map. And you have to remember to go back to the console to activate and get new ones. Would be nice to be able to do that anytime. Other than that, the Hollow area is just more going to a certain place, kill some enemies, get an item, and move on to the next game area kind of thing with boring context. There's a part where you have to use a hammer to break rocks, which is annoying because I have to keep alternating between the hammer and my main weapons. The Hollow area map doesn't tell you shit when you pull it up until you switch the map. Why isn't the second map the default one? Overall, the Hollow area is at least a bit more interesting than Aincrad. The implementation system is fun, though it could use some quality of life changes. The environments are more varied, and the enemies are more challenging. I mean, I still rather play Sims 4 with Wicked Whims, but you know, this is alright I guess. Hollow Fragment is boring. It's unbalanced, the character progression isn't satisfying, and exploration is uninteresting with repetitive maps and combat. It's definitely one of the least polished SAO games released, and also one of the more simpler ones. It was made for PSP originally after all, but that's not a good excuse for the mechanics not mixing well with each other. The stats don't feel like they mattered, and same with the buffs. Lisbeth keeps breaking my shit, the enemies are too easy, maybe the endgame content is more exciting, but I already spent 33 hours at this point. If a game doesn't hook you in that amount of time, it failed. Honestly, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but go play Hollow Realization instead. I haven't played Last Recollection yet, but judging by the reviews, Hollow Realization is still the best melee-based SAO game. It's pretty much Hollow Realization but bigger and better. I have a lot of problems with it, but compared to Hollow Fragment, Hollow Realization beats it by a country mile. Condoms not included, slippery and raw. It's story time. If you don't want spoilers, skip to this timestamp. If you're new to SAO, you should watch at least the first 12 episodes of the anime. The game continues from the final fight of the Ironclad arc, so watching at least that is recommended. At the end of Kirito's fight with Heathcliff, the boss man gets glitched and Kirito finishes him off. The game doesn't end, however, and everyone goes to floor 76. By entering floor 76 though, the players are blocked from going back to their previous floors, so they're all stuck there until they beat all 25 floors. Somehow, Kirito's cousin Suguha, or Lifa, and Shinon from Gun Gale Online teleports into the game because fan service. Okay, they do kinda explain why they're there, but let's be real here, it's fan service. One day, while Kirito is out on a walk, he meets Straya, some weird girl who's incredibly touchy. Straya kinda just slips her way into the friend group and becomes a part of Kirito's harem. Nothing new there, but as quickly as the story started, it also came to a screeching halt. For about 10 to 12 hours, nothing of importance happens in the story. The only character side story is where Kirito goes with one of the girls to do some shit, get the littlest of character development, he grabs a titty, and the end. It's like, oh, I feel useless. You're not useless. Oh, Kirito! I skipped most of that shit, they're boring. I'd rather go on Hitomi.la to be honest. Anyway, after hours of gameplay, some guy called Albrecht shows up and starts acting sus, because he doesn't know how to play the video game, and he likes molesting women. Straya starts to act weird too, having headaches and going off on her own into dungeons. Well, it turns out that Albrecht is that weird molester guy who works for Asuna's dad, Sugo. He's an SAO to experiment on the players' emotions or some shit like that. His experiments are causing stress to Straya because she's not actually a human player. She's a mental counseling AI like Yui. Straya splits into a bunch of little girls and starts attacking you, and then turns into a 4-armed titty monster. You beat Straya and convert her into data to be revived later. Out of nowhere, Heathcliff shows up and he's like, haha, you didn't kill me. That was a glitch that happened on floor 75. And Kirito's like, oh, I gotta beat him again, here we go. And then they all lived happily ever after. The end. This sucked anus. Like 80% of the story is just nothing and the remaining 20 is over before you know it. Straya is not much of a character. She's clingy, sad about Kirito and the crew leaving SAO, and that's it. She's a worse version of Yui. Sugo kinda just came, talked some shit, and gets his ass beat. He triggered Straya's boss form, I give him that, but he's still just an annoying little shit. Heathcliff, I don't even know what he was doing. He hid in a room this whole game, jacking off, doing nothing. The story is very black and white with no interesting conflict. I don't think there was even a point to this story. What's the message here? It's pointless. I felt empty and numb going through this shit. It's just a waste of space. The Hollow Area story with Philia is better, though not by a whole lot. Philia is an orange player, meaning she's killed another player before. Kirito wants to help Philia get her green status back, because he believes that she had a good reason for killing someone. Later on, they find out that the Laughing Coffin gang is in the Hollow Area planning some shit, so they get out of there for now. One of the leaders of Laughing Coffin, Po, followed Kirito and Philia into the admin area. Po tries to convince Philia to betray Kirito and says that she's one of them. What does he mean by that? After Kirito gets trapped forcibly by Philia, he escapes the dungeon and goes back. Philia tells Kirito about everything, about Laughing Coffin and who she killed. Turns out that she killed herself. Not unaliving herself in Minecraft or something like that, but she'd kill someone who looked just like her. Things are starting to get interesting. Kirito and Philia continue to explore the Hollow Area, and they find out about the Laughing Coffin's plans of using an admin console deeper inside the Hollow Area to kill more people. With the help of Yui, Kirito disrupts Laughing Coffin's plans and kills Po, and learn the truth behind Philia's situation. Turns out that the Hollow Area makes copies of the players in SAO for testing purposes. The clones look exactly like their real counterparts, except that they act weird, like the lack of social skills, being unemployed, and still lives in their mother's basement at the age of 35. Philia killed her clone, and her orange status was a glitch all along since her clone wasn't a real person. Oh, that's nice, I guess. Anyway, Poe had access to an admin console before dying and made it so an update he started will kill all the clones in the hollow area and their real counterparts. So Kirito has to stop that along with restoring Philia's green status. The duo goes on to kill all the bosses. Kirito fights a clone of himself, stop the update from happening, restore Philia's plum bob to green. Yes, that's called a plum bob. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. The hollow area was certainly more interesting than Aincrad, but also has a lot of missed potential. Philia's story could have gone existential, man. As soon as she revealed she unalived herself, so many questions popped up, like, did she really kill her? Is she the real one or the clone? How would we even know that? How does Philia feel about possibly being the clone? Was she accepted or denied and go through the stages of grief? Are the AI clones sentient? If they are, wouldn't finishing the floors, therefore letting the game and the AIs die, be morally wrong? So many cool shit and none of it was explored. At least not much. Everything is summed up as, oh, it's a glitch, bro, don't worry about it. It's like, man, why am I still here? For what it is, the story is okay. It's nothing special even for SAO standards. The pacing is better than Aincrad and we got to see the laughing coffin, but the execution leaves me limp. This whole game makes me limp. Sword Art Online Re-Hollow Fragment is a mediocre video game. The graphics, the gameplay, the story, it's all boring. There's a lot of content to go through, but who wants more boring content? It was a mistake coming back to Hollow Fragment. Maybe it's fate that I skipped this game all those years ago. I should have just left it alone. Just go play Hollow Realization instead. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. I'll come back next time with something more modern. Later.